So the MacBook Air is easily the most loved MacBook ever. It appeals to the masses due to the power it offers, the compact size and ease of use, coupled with the intuitive macOS, and all of that packaged in an affordable price. This year, Apple took their latest and greatest to new heights and launched a completely redesigned MacBook Air with the M2 chip. Along with that, they made all the things you love about your MacBook better. Well, almost all of them. So here are 3 things I love and 3 things I absolutely hate about the new MacBook Air. And should you buy it? Do stick till the end to find out the answer. So the first thing I love about the new MacBook Air is the redesign. Apple has abandoned the wedge-shaped design and have adopted this new design which is stunning. It's evenly thin across the board at 0.44 inches, and while the wedge-shaped design felt thinner, this one is actually thinner than the thickest part of the previous Air. This new design makes carrying around the MacBook Air a lot more easy. So I would say it's a great device for anybody whose workflow requires them to be mobile and also requires some power with it. And speaking of power, the new M2 chip is amazing. I mean, it is a huge step up from the M1 and you can just feel that power. Better overall speed, things load faster, and insane battery levels. I mean, after I used this device after a full charge, it lasted me about 3 days, and that involved some light testing, making a ton of scripts, quite heavy browsing, and a lot of YouTube. And it never once let me down, except when I sat to edit, because that is when it was put at charge. And the next thing I love about it is that, the charging. With the new redesign, it brings the return of the MagSafe, and I just love the MagSafe. It's nostalgic, it's super quick, and it keeps the 2 Thunderbolt ports free. What's not to love? Well, there are a few things I don't. The first one has to be this color. I mean, straight out of the box, it's an amazing color. It looks stunning. But within the next 10 minutes, I started dreading using this color because it's legit a fingerprint magnet. I mean, no matter how often you wipe your hands or clean the bag, it just always manages to have a ton of fingerprints on it. So please, just go for any other color. I have personally used Space Gray Max for all my life and they've never disappointed me. But the notch in this thing has really disappointed me. While it does give you that extra screen real estate, it's still very striking. So the 14 inches and 16 inches too have the notch, but they have it with the mini LED Pro XDR display. And due to that, the notch just hides in the taskbar most of the time. Not with the Air. Since the Air does not have the mini LED display, the pixels on this thing never really turn off. So you can always see the notch and eventually you might get used to it, but it's still a bit loud. But that's not true for the speakers on this thing because they are terrible. So along with the new redesign, the speakers are now in the hinge, and that's a bold move, but I don't know if it's the right one. Since the speaker is now in the hinge, it sounds very damp most of the times. While the treble and voices do get clear, the separation and bass on this thing is really dismal. So some light music and YouTube on this thing is okay, but watching a movie on this thing would be a really bad experience. Okay, so let's say you're in the market for a new MacBook. Should you get this? Let's see what are your options. The base model comes with a 256 gigs SSD. And that is where the trouble begins. The SSD on this thing features only one NAND chip compared to 2 NAND chips in the 512 gigs variant. Now, because of that, the read and write speed on the base model is really terrible. I'll tell you, it's 50% slower than the M1 Air, which had 2 NAND chips. So naturally, it does not make sense to go for the base model. And that means you'll be going for the one with 512 gigs of storage, like I did. But that cost 1,50,000 rupees, and once you go near that price point, a lot of new options come up. So the 14-inch MacBook Pro is a good option. It gives you the M1 Pro chip, it gives you a larger display, it gives you a mini LED 120Hz refresh rate screen, it gives you more ports, it gives you fans, it has a better design overall. So it's a great deal. While it does go up till 1,95,000, it's something that will give you twice the amount of performance than the M2. And if you don't need that much power, the M1 MacBook Air is still a pretty great deal. It costs around 99,000 rupees and it has a great design. It still has a great chip, and overall it can handle almost all tasks that you throw at it. So the M2 MacBook Air is really a great piece of hardware. So if you're somebody whose workflow requires them to go from one place to another a lot of times, or you don't have a fixed desk, or you don't really have a lot of pro usage, you can go for the M2 MacBook Air if you're ready to spend that much. But if you see yourself having some pro usage in the future, the 14-inch M1 Pro might be a better option for you. It gives you a lot more when you spend a little more. Let me know, where do you fit in this matrix of MacBooks? Would you go for this magnificent yet pricey MacBook Air, or are you more of a pro user? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. This is Rhythm, and I'll catch you in the next one.